Hello, everyone, and welcome to our weekly discussion series that's hosted by the Chaldean Cultural Center in collaboration with U of M Detroit Center, Unique Voices in Films, and CMN TV. I'm your host, Wiam Nemo, and our guest today is Dr. Kristine Ajrouch and Dr. Wassim Tarraf. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I'm going to share their bios, and then their questions will be answered in English by Kristine and then followed by Wassim. He is going to be translating in Arabic for our Arabic-speaking listeners. So Dr. Kristine Ajrouch is director of the Michigan Center for Contextual Factors in Alzheimer's Disease, located at the University of Michigan. She is also professor of sociology at Eastern Michigan University. Her research has focused for over 25 years on Middle Eastern Arab Americans. Her current work, funded by the National Institute of Aging, addresses social aspects of Alzheimer's disease. Dr. Wassim Tarraf is an associate professor at the Institute of Gerontology and in the Department of Healthcare Sciences at Wayne State University. He is a gerontologist, methodologist, health services researcher, and policy analyst. He's also currently the community core lead for the Michigan Center for Contextual Factors in Alzheimer's Disease, where he directs community engagement activities with the Middle Eastern Arab American population in Metro Detroit. So I want to share a little bit how we found out about this research. I was contacted by a colleague, several colleagues actually, that there's a research going on and that you wanted for us to help spread the word. Kristine, after I talked to you, I felt that given the importance of this research and given how much information it entails, I thought maybe it's better if you two came and shared this with the community. But, maybe before we start, if you can just tell us a little bit about your background so that our audience knows who you are, a little bit more than just what I read on a personal level.
Sure, we am. And I want to thank you again for inviting us to be on this show. I'm really excited, and I know Wassim is too, to be able to have an opportunity to talk more about the project. So as you mentioned, I am a researcher, but I'm also a longtime member of the Middle Eastern community. My maternal grandparents immigrated to the Metro Detroit area from Lebanon in the early 1900s. And my father immigrated here to Michigan from Iran via Paris, where he attended medical school as part of a resident exchange program with the University of Michigan. And so now I am a researcher at the University of Michigan, and I'm leading this project that you referred to called the Detroit Area Aging and Memory Project, which is looking to fight Alzheimer's disease in the Arab and Middle Eastern community.
Thank you so much. We always talk when I give tours at the museum. People are always asking, why did the Chaldeans come to Michigan? And I have this long story, but one of the major factors that they came here is they were looking for a community, Arabic-speaking community, and they chose Michigan because the Lebanese were already established here, and the Syrians, but mostly the Lebanese. And they figured, you know what, that would be a smart move. And so actually the Lebanese were very helpful for the Chaldean community when we first came here. And so, that's our story, our connection with that community. And Wassim, what's your background?
I think my story reflects what you just described. أنا جيت من لبنان تقريبا حوالي 25 سنة بسنة 2000. جيت أساسا لحتى أكمل دراستي هون، لحتى أعمل الماجستير والدكتوراه، وتزوجت واستقيت بأمريكا. وحاليا أنا أستاذ مشارك بمعهد علم المسنين وبقسم علوم الرعاية الصحية بجامعة وين ستيت. الأبحاث تعولي بتركز على سلوكات الصحة، على شو هي محددات الصحة، محددات الحياة الصحية بالأقليات العرقية والقومية بالولايات المتحدة الأمريكية.
So you described a little bit what the background is. And by the way, it's interesting. So Wassim, I'm assuming you came here because of the population. We have the largest Middle Eastern population in the United States. And then for Chaldeans, we have the largest population in the world. in Michigan. So this is really like the center hub for Middle Easterners. And this project, given the population, is appropriately set here. But you mentioned a little bit what the Detroit Age Memory Project is about, but can you go into further detail, and why does it need to be geared toward a particular community rather than just kind of be an umbrella for everybody else?
Yeah. This study is really pioneering in the sense that it's purposefully trying to better understand health. Excuse me. It's purposefully better trying to understand health among the Middle Eastern and Arab American population, and particularly adults who are age 65 and older, who are living in the Metro Detroit area. It's the very first one that will include this population in a research project that's meant to represent the entire population, not just a certain segment. Generally, Arab and Middle Eastern Americans, because we're considered white by the US Census, we're never really visible in research. It may be that we participate in research projects, but we're never really able to disaggregate or identify people of Arab or Middle Eastern ancestry, because when there's questions that are asking us, how we identify racially or ethnically, there's usually no Arab or Middle Eastern option. And so we end up getting lumped in with other white Americans. And the challenges around that is that the community studies that have been done on this population show that our communities are at high risk for a lot of diseases at a much more serious level than just white Americans. So this project is so exciting from my perspective, because we're going to be able to really understand the strengths and challenges in our community like we've never been able to do before.
Okay, thank you. And Dr. Wassim, this is great things that she's highlighting. If you can share that with us in Arabic, please.
هيدا السؤال اللي طرحتيه حضرتك كثير مهم. خليني بس ركز على شغلتين هون. الشغلة الأولى اللي هي شو هي هالدراسة، والشغلة الثانية هي ليش عم نقوم بهالدراسة خاصة بالمجتمع العربي الأمريكي والمجتمع الشرق أوسطي اللي موجود بولاية ميشيغان. ديامب هو مشروع ممول من قبل المعهد الوطني للصحة، والهدف الأساسي لهالدراسة هي أنه نحاول نفهم بشكل أفضل صحة العرب الأمريكيين والأمريكيين من أصول شرق أوسطية، مثل الكلدانيين طبعا، اللي بتبلغ أعمارهم فوق 65 سنة، واللي بيعيشوا بمنطقة مترو ديترويت. هالدراسة هي فريدة من نوعها، لأن أول دراسة بتشمل ناس الكبار بالعمر من العرب والشرق أوسطيين، وهو كمشروع مصمم لحتى يمثل الجالية أو السكان بأكملهم، مش بس فئة معينة من هالجالية. فإذا المشاركة بهالبحث حتخلينا نتعرف أكثر على الأشياء الفريدة اللي ممكن تحمينا أو تعرضنا للإصابة بمرض الألزهايمر، لأنه في كتير دراسات أجريت سابقا عن الجالية بتشير لأنه في بعض الأمراض اللي هي متعلقة بأمراض الألزهايمر اللي هي مرتفعة بجاليتنا. الشغله الثانيه اللي بدي احاول جاوب عليها هي ليش عم نركز على العرب والشرق اوسطيين. عاده نحن كجاليه بتم تصنيفنا كاشخاص من اصول بيضاء بامريكا، وبالتالي نحن منا مرئيين بالابحاث الموجوده بامريكا. ممكن حدا او عده اشخاص يكونوا شاركوا من قبل، بس شاركوا كبيض، مش كممثلين عن الجاليه. حاليا ما في اي بحث اخر موجود بامريكا معمول لحتى يركز على الجاليه ويقدر يفهم شو هي الاشياء الفريده الموجوده بهالجاليه اللي بتساعد انه تاخر من ظهور هالمرض او تحل من امكانيه التعرض له.
Thank you very much for explaining that. That was great. And how has, first of all, how have you tried to reach people? And how has this project been received?
So, as I mentioned, the study is different from other studies that have been done in our communities because we are looking to get a representative sample. So, a sample that represents all of the people who come from the Middle Eastern region of the world. And so, we're not just looking for people that we know or people who go to a particular church or who are part of a particular organization. We're randomly sampling people. And what that means is that households in the Metro Detroit area, so people who live in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County, will get a letter letting them know that they may qualify to be part of this study. And the letter is from the University of Michigan, and it's signed by myself. And so receiving this letter means that they have been chosen to represent the community. And maybe some of the listeners today have already received this letter. Once they receive a letter, someone from our staff, we have bilingual interviewers, will come to the household that received the letter to see if they qualify. And basically, to qualify, they just have to be age 65 years and older and be of Arab or Middle Eastern ancestry. That's the first question. Did you want me to also talk about what our challenges have been, or you want to wait until Wassim?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Go ahead, Wassim. Why don't you? Because I think the challenge is going to be interesting topic in itself.
بعتقد انه مثل ما قلنا الشيء الفريد بهالدراسة إنه معمولة أو مصممة لحتى تكون ممثلة لكل العرب الأمريكيين والشرق أوسطيين الموجودين بمنطقة ديترويت وضواحيها. هي مش بس دراسة للناس بنعرفهم أو ناس بيروحوا لمحل محدد أو بيسكنوا مدينة معينة. الدراسة مصممة لحتى تكون شاملة لمجموعة السكان. لذلك طريقة الانضمام للدراسة هي كمان فريدة. حيتم دعوة الأشخاص عن طريق استلامهم رسالة ممضية من جامعة ميشيغان ومن كريستين كمديرة هالمشروع. استلام هالرسالة، وفي كتير ناس بلشوا يستلموا بالبريد رسالاتهم، اللي بيعني انه هن تم اختيارهم لحتى يكونوا ممثلين للناس بمجتمعنا بهالدراسة. بعد ما يتم ارسال هالرسالة حيقوم شخص من مركزنا بالتوجه للمنزل اللي استلم هالرسالة لحتى يتحقق إذا كانت الأسرة اللي أو المنزل اللي تلقى هالرسالة فعلا مؤهل للمشاركة. ولما نقول مؤهل بنعني شغلتين. الشغلة الأولى هي أنه مفروض يكون في شخص فوق عمر 65 موجود بهالأسرة أو بهالمنزل، وهالشخص مفروض يكون من أصول عربية أو شرق أوسطية.
Okay, so المشكلة اللي تشوفوها أكثر شيء or the major challenge that you're facing is?
Yeah, okay. So we'll talk about the challenges. I also, I don't think I had a chance to say why I think it's so important for our community to participate in this study. You know, research is the only way that we can understand what the challenges are that our community faces, and also understand what the strengths are that our community has that we can use to address those challenges. So we need our community to be included in projects that are being done to help families and to help individuals, and to make sure that we are also on the receiving end of all of the possible benefits that come from research findings. So the information that we collect from this study is really going to be able to help our community like never before. I believe this is our one shot to show that our communities are important and deserve to be included in research that's meant to improve our health. So with that being said, let me tell you about some of the challenges. So our interviewers are going to the homes, and I want you to know this is a very challenging process because we send letters randomly, and we don't know if the people who are living in that household are age 65 and older, and we don't know if they're Middle Eastern or Arab American. we're knocking on doors and we're asking them, how old they are and what their ethnicity is. And then when we find somebody who is 65 years or older and who is of Middle Eastern or Arab ancestry, we're getting answers that are basically telling us, no, we don't want to participate. And it's killing us because we're spending so much time. Just to give you an example, we went into the field. I accompanied one of our interviewers just to see what the experience was like. We'd spent 3 hours to visit 17 homes. From visiting those 17 homes, we only found one family that qualified. Thankfully, they did say yes. But we're getting more people.
That's a good rate for a Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
I was gonna congratulate you. It's better than zero.
It's better than zero. I mean, so there's hope, and we're trudging along, and we're slowly getting people, but not as many as we need, and that's why we need to talk about it. I'll let Wassim translate.
Yeah, but I want to have I just want to have a little idea of what happened with the other 16 homes, like that.
Yeah, the majority, I will tell you, out of the 17, four households actually answered the door. So the problem is people aren't even answering the door.
And that makes sense, that part. Okay.
The 4 people who answered the door, 2 of them wouldn't even let us ask them any questions. We explained we're here from the University of Michigan. You received this letter from us. We just want to see if you qualify to be part of the study. And they said, I'm not interested in anything. And they just slammed the door on us. The other 2 let us talk to them. One of them did not qualify. They had a person 65 and older, but they were of Hispanic ethnicity, not Middle Eastern or Arab American. So they didn't qualify. And then it was actually the last house that we came to. It was one of their children answered the door. We told them about it. They thought it sounded important. They said he had a father who was age 65 and older. He thought it would be good for him to participate, but he wasn't home at the time. So we called them later and we set up the appointment, and we actually got that interview.
And it was because that person understood through your communication, they were able to understand how important this was. And
exactly.
Okay. So exactly. Dr. Wassim, if you could reply to that, and then I'd love to discuss this more, because I believe, my mom, I took care of my mom the last 5 years of her life, and she didn't have Alzheimer's, she had dementia. And I would have welcomed you guys, but I understand the value of it because it was very new to our my family, to our community in general, is when this was kind of like, oh, what's happening here? So I think even participating is healthy for for family members, as well as the person taking the survey, for everybody to understand this. That's my opinion about it.
Absolutely.
بالضبط مثل ما عم تقولي، ونحن عشان هيك عم نعمل هالمقابلات لحتى نقدر نوصل لافراد الجاليه انه هالشيء مهم، هالشيء حيساعدهم، حيساعد عيالهم، حيساعد اولادهم، لحتى نقدر نتعرف على هالاشياء الفريده اللي ممكن تساعد مجتمعنا، لانه مجتمعنا شوي مختلف عن بعض المجتمعات الاخرى. وحاليا ما في علاج لمرض الالزهايمر او امراض الخرف المتعلقه فيه. لذلك نحن بحاجه لهيك مشاريع لحتى نقدر نفهم كيف ممكن نأخر حصول هالمرض. وهيدي فرصه فريده، فرصه وحيده لحتى نقدر نظهر اهميه مجتمعنا. وكريستين صار له 20 سنه بتشتغل بهالمجال لحتى قدرنا نأمن هالموارد والتمويل من الدولة لحتى نقدر نعمل هالمشروع. فإذا الشيء اللي قالته كريستين إنه عم نقوم نحن بزيارة المنازل ونعرف عن حالنا، شو نحن شو بنعمل. وهالعملية طبعا كتير متعبة. أعطت مثل كريستين إنه بالفترة الماضية القريبة زرنا حوالي 17 بيت واخذت حوالي 3 ساعات لحتى نقدر نمشي من بيت لبيت لحتى نقدر نشوف اذا فعلا الناس الموجودين بهالبيت بيكونوا مؤهلين لحتى يشاركوا بالدراسه. وما قدرنا نلاقي الا عائله وحده، والاسباب اللي اعطيت لنا انه الناس ما بدها تحكي، ما بتعرف مين نحن، ما بتعرف شو عم نعمل، ما بتعرف ليه نحن هونيك، فلذلك ما في هالتقارب لحتى نقدر نفسر لهم اهميه الاشياء اللي عم نعملها. وطبعا الشيء اللي عم نعمله، المقابله اللي عم نعملها معك اليوم، هي طريقه لحتى نوصل لهم لافراد الجاليه انه نحن مهتمين كثير بمشاركتهم بهالدراسه. كريستين حتحكي عن بعض الاشياء، بعض التشالنجز اللي عندنا اياها مع نقدر نوصل للاشخاص، وبعدين انا برجع بترجم شوي من هاي.
So so basically, to follow up on that, so when we do find a household, you see how difficult and how long it takes us to find someone. So when they tell us no, it's such a challenge, because we've spent so much time and effort to find someone, and if we do find them, that means they represent the community, so we need them to participate. And so these are some of the challenges we're facing. So when we do find somebody, as Wiam said, the one household that we did find, the son who answered the door understood what research was. So he was all for it, and he thought his father would enjoy it. But what we find more often than not, because research isn't something that's a common part of our history and of our culture, we don't have a lot of experience with it. Oftentimes, older adults feel like they're not qualified to participate in research because they think there's a right answer. And what we try to convey is there is no right answer. You don't even have to have gone to school to participate to be in this research project. We believe everyone's life matters, and we want to hear from everyone. A second issue is that people are fearful. They don't understand why someone's knocking on their door and wants to ask them questions. And the concern they have is, will this information go back to the government and hurt me in some way? We make very clear that participating in the study will not result in any loss of benefits, and everything is confidential. And even more importantly, participating in this project actually will lead to help for our community. And without that participation, we really won't have any way of knowing how to best help our families as we move forward. I have a few more that I'll talk about, and then we'll have Wassim say them in Arabic. But another issue is privacy. Especially in our culture, I think there's a heavy emphasis on personal issues should remain private and never leave the family sphere. So if a question is seen as if questions that are being asked are seen as too personal, participants are afraid to be part of this because they don't want, their laundry aired out in public. But one of the things that we make clear is that if there's any question that a participant thinks is too personal, they can skip it. But again, everything is confidential. And I want to underscore that everybody who's participated in this project has told us how much they've enjoyed it. They've really had a nice time being able just to talk about their perspective on life, their experiences, and what their views are. And then lastly, oftentimes older adults will tell us they're just too busy. They're too busy. They don't have time to participate in research. And we just want to be able to ensure that these older adults will be able to do that for a very long time. Learning about their life will help not only them, but their children and their grandchildren. So participation, may take a little bit of your time, but in the long run, it's going to help you to be able to stay busy and to do all the things that you love doing.
And just out of curiosity, when you say like little time, how long does it normally take?
This data collection takes 2 hours. So it is a little bit of time, but as a token of appreciation, we give respondents $100 just to thank them for being part of this. And they also get a free blood pressure screen because we take their blood pressure as part of our data collection, and we share that with them so that they can have the most up-to-date health information for themselves.
So you're compensating them for their time as well, that's very generous. Okay, great. Did you want to add anything before we say? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's okay. بعض التحديات اللي عم نواجهها لما نروح على البيوت ونحاول نسأل الناس لحتى ينضموا، انه في بعض الخوف انه الناس تشارك لعده اشياء. الشيء الاول انه ما في ما معودين على شو هي الابحاث وشو بتعمل الابحاث، وفي بعض الناس بتشعر انه هن منهم مؤهلين لحتى يعطوا اجابه صحيحه. نحن ما في اجابه صحيحه واجابه خطا بهالاشياء اللي عم نسالها ابدا. وواحد ما بحاجه ليكون عنده اي تعليم مدرسي او تعليم جامعي لحتى يقدر يشارك ويقدم هالاجوبه. الشيء اللي عم نحاول نعمله نحن انه نسال جميع الاشخاص شو هي تجاربهم بالحياه، وشو هي الاشياء اللي عم بيعيشوها لحتى نقدر نفهمها اكثر. نقدر نحاول نعمل اشياء حول الحياه كما بتنعاش. فنحن بحاجه لنسمع الاراء واراء الجميع. الشيء الثاني اللي بنقال انه في شعور بالخوف. ليش نحن عم نسال هالاسئله؟ وين حتروح هالمعلومات؟ ممكن هالمعلومات تنعطى لحد بالحكومه او تضرني بطريقه ما. الشيء اللي بدنا نوضحه انه المشاركه بالدراسه ما بتؤدي لاي فقدان باي فوائد متاحه للاشخاص. وكل شيء بنجيبه او كل معلومات بيقدموها هي معلومات مضمون، معلومات سريه وحتضلها سريه. الخصوصيه هي شيء اساسي بنركز عليه بجميع الابحاث. والدوله الامريكيه طبعا عندها قوانين بتحمي الخصوصيات وسريه المعلومات باي ابحاث بتجرى بامريكا. لذلك اي مسائل شخصيه نتحدث عنها ما حتخرج من نطاق الحديث. والاشخاص طبعا اذا اعتبروا انه في سؤال شخصي جدا بدهم يجاوبوا عليه عندهم كل الحريه انه يقولوا انا ما بدي جاوب او ما بقدر احكي عن هالشيء. بس مره ثانيه بدي اقول انه كل شيء بنجمعه، كل المعلومات هي معلومات سريه. وفعليا الناس اللي بنحكي معهم لما نجري هالمقابلات بيتمتعوا بالتجربه وبيقولوا لنا قديش انبسطوا وقديش استفادوا منها. شغلتين اخير بدي اقولهم انه في ناس بيقولوا نحن مشغولين ما عندنا وقت لحتى نعمل هالشيء، وبنتفهم نحن طبعا هالشيء. لذلك الدراسه معموله لحتى تقدم كعربون شكر للناس اللي بيشاركوا $100 مقابل وقتهم، وحنعطيهم كمان فحص ضغط مجاني. الشيء الاساسي كمان هون انه كل الناس عندها اشغال وكلنا مشغول. لازم نعتبر هالشيء انفستمنت، هالشيء اساسي لحتى يساعدنا كجاليه لحتى نعرف نحن كيف عم نعيش. شو هي الاشياء اللي خطره لنا، شو هي الاشياء اللي ممكن تساعدنا، وهالشيء حيساعد الاشخاص، حيساعد عيالهم وحيساعد احفادهم بالمستقبل.
So after you guys, thank you so much, Wassim. And after you guys explained all of this, when I met with you, it was a little bit harder to understand it just through email, to be honest with you. And so when we met, I was really moved by what you're trying to do, by the amount of effort and work that it entailed. And also, you told me other things, which, even you were explaining that even for future research, it doesn't help that if we don't participate in this research to get future funding for further research. And I thought, oh, wow, always the future is important, right? For us to, it's not about just like, okay, well, this research didn't work out, but it really affects us as a community in many ways and in our future. So that's when I started trying to think of ways like to really help, because I understood that and influenced me. How can the community help? People are listening to this now. It's going on multi-streaming channels. It's going to be replayed. They're going to be listening and figuring, okay, we understand what it is. We understand how important, but you are sending letters to people randomly. And I think I asked you this question before, like, is it possible to do it in a different way, to reach people, the community in a different way? Can they reach out to you instead of you reaching out to them? So if somebody says, hey, I know a lot of people that are over 65, they'd love to participate, I can help you get you a list of them, actually. That's just one example. I'm not talking about organizations, because it could be just an individual who knows a lot of people that says, I can do this. So just if you can share with us so we can see, how can we as a community, whether individuals, organizations, churches, mosques, whoever it may be, once we understand how important and we feel like now, okay, safe about this, how can we help you guys?
I think the best way that we can be helped is to just participate if you get the letter. And in terms of the community organizations and the churches and all of the different, different ways in which we are connected to larger groups, we need these groups to talk about the research and to explain why it's so important, so that if somebody does get a letter, they will feel comfortable saying, okay, yeah, I heard about this and I should participate because I know it's going to help our community. Or even if your parents received the letter and ask you about it, encourage them to say yes. Tell them why it's important. Tell them how their participation is going to help not only them in the future, but their children and their grandchildren and their communities. If we go to a home and no one answers, we do leave behind a "sorry we missed you" card, and it tells the person they can call us to see if they qualify, and we can do that over the phone. So we would encourage you to call us if you get one of our cards. At this point, as we talked about earlier, one of the reasons why we're not asking for lists of people is because we want to be able to get a sample that represents everyone. So if we're only getting people who are saying yes right off the bat when they hear about it, then it doesn't necessarily represent everyone. And so we want to just contact people randomly as a way to make sure we're including everyone who could possibly be eligible to participate. And I know that makes it harder on us, but in the end, it's going to be a big payoff for our community.
الدراسة مصممة لحتى تكون ممثلة لكل المجتمع، وهالرسالات اللي عم نوجهها للناس على بيوتهم هي من خلال الدراسة مصممة لحتى تكون موجهة عشوائيا، لحتى نقدر نعمل تمثيل للمجتمع بشكل عام. فالطريقة الأساسية اللي ممكن الأفراد الجالية يساعدونا فيها هو إذا تلقوا رسالة يقولوا إيه، او اذا حدا من اصحابهم تلقى رساله وسالهم عنها يشجعون انه يقولوا ايه، او اذا اهلهم تلقوا الرساله وسالون عنها كمان يشجعون انه يقولوا ايه. اذا رحنا على بيت حدا، على منزل حدا وما كانوا قدروا يجاوبوا، نحن عاده بنترك بطاقه لنفسر لهم مين نحن وشو بنعمل، وبتتخلل هالبطاقه معلومات عن كيف بيقدروا يتصلوا فينا لحتى يقدروا يعرفوا اذا هن مؤهلين ولا لا. فاذا بحال كانوا الناس غير موجودين بالبيت وصلنا لعندهم وحاولنا نتصل فيهم، اذا ممكن يتصلوا فينا ويسالونا قد ما بدهم اسئله، ونحن موجودين لحتى نفسر اكثر ونقدم معلومات اكثر ونشجع الناس لتشارك اكثر.
والبيوت اللي تروحوا لهم نفس البيوت اللي يجي لهم رسالة or it's different? What I'm asking is are the people that are receiving the letters the same people that you're knocking on their doors, or is there a different list? It is the same people.
It's the same people. The only way we knock on the door is if they've received a letter.
Okay. So right now the whole focus is for the people that are receiving the letter to really, it's for them to respond, but if they don't qualify, that's going to be something that you will learn from connecting with them, from getting to get to the next step.
Correct.
ومثل ما قلنا لحتى يكون واحد مؤهل بشغلتين بس إن المفروض يكون حدا فوق ال 65 عايش بالبيت، ويكون الشخص من أصل عربي أو شرق أوسطي.
And up to what generation when you say that? Do they have to be born in the Middle East or in the Arab world?
Either one, either U.S. born or born in the Middle East, as long as they have an ancestry, they trace their ancestry back to Middle East or an Arabic speaking country.
Okay. وحتى لنزيد شغلي على اللي قالته كريستين، الدراسة معمولة لحتى نقدر نسأل الأسئلة باللغة اللي بفضلها المشارك. إذا بفضل الإنجليزي فينا نعمل كل الأسئلة بالإنجليزي ونعمل المقابلة كلها بالإنجليزي. إذا بفضل أو بتفضل باللغة العربية كمان فينا نعملها باللغة العربية.
So it seems that the answer to this question is that for people, whether the organizations or individuals, the community at large, just to be aware of this letter, to understand that it's something very important and helpful for our community, and that all you really need is their time to participate in this. It doesn't seem like they're, and the research, with regards to privacy, all the things that you mentioned, it is part of our culture to kind of not feel comfortable giving out information, being interviewed and such. But based on what you're just saying, that's not something that they need to worry about. And it's people from our own community that's putting this together.
That's
Yeah,
right. That's right.
absolutely.
And everybody who's working on this project is really passionately and sincerely committed to helping the community. And that's what makes it such a joy, the study. And so we just really need to get everybody's buy-in so that we can together help our community. I think especially, when we look what's happening in the world today and how many challenges we face, especially coming from the Middle East, we want to make sure that we're not left behind and that we're included and part of the population eligible to be able to be helped and not just to be pushed to the sidelines. I think that's a really important message. So I think now more than ever, we need to make sure our community is involved and included in anything that's being done to help. We can't really afford to be pushed to the side.
and doing positive things. I think when you are pushed aside, then there's sometimes negative outlooks or negative participations in certain things. But what you guys are doing is really, really positive to bring something good for the community. And their participation is also adding something good for the community. And so, I really commend you for this work. I hope that you will receive. Is there, I know I asked you this before. I would like if you could share, is there a particular deadline or, so people don't think that, okay, if they hear this down the line, whenever, a couple of weeks from now, or what's the time frame and how should they deal with it so that you don't miss this opportunity for this research?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Liam. This study, the data collection started in June of this year. And we're still in the field and letters are still going out. So if you didn't receive a letter yet, don't think you're not going to receive a letter. We're still sending letters out and we'll be sending letters out for at least the next 6 months. So we have another 6 months. So far, we have been able to collect a sample of 60 people, which is, it's not bad, but we're aiming for 600. So we need to get 10 times more people than what we currently have. And it's not that we're not finding, we have found over 200 individuals who would qualify to be in the study. But as you can see, out of that 200, only 60 said yes. 140, we're still working on trying to convince them to participate. And we have a lot more work to do.
Okay. Inshallah, this gets done very successfully. I wish you the best of luck. And, you have like a minute or two left. I know we went over our time because this information is so valuable. So, if you want to share just any last words, that would be great.
I think the last words I would say is that most anyone I speak to in our community has been touched in some way by Alzheimer's disease or a related dementia, including myself. And research has always been the pathway to finding cures and finding ways to help. In fact, the Arab and Middle Eastern world was at the forefront of practicing research to help people. And the advances they made in research have contributed to today's approaches to addressing disease. So currently, there is no cure for Alzheimer's, but research is showing us how to reduce our risk. And we need to make sure our community is included in these efforts because our community has unique elements, unique cultural aspects that we want to be able to use as a way to help our community. But if we don't understand what they are, then we can't help.
Dr. Wassim?
معظم الاشخاص اللي بنحكي معهم بمجتمعنا تاثروا بطريقه ما بمرض الالزهايمر او بامراض الخرف المتعلقه فيه بما فيهم انا وكريستين. نحن هلا بنعيش اكثر وطبعا اكثر عرضه للمرض لانه بنعيش اكثر ونحن اكثر واعيين بوجود هالمرض. مثل ما هو الحال مع الأمراض المزمنة الثانية، بدنا نحاول نفهمه بشكل أفضل ونساعد لحتى نقدم حلول له من خلال الأشياء الفريدة اللي بتعرضنا كمجتمع عربي وشرق أوسطي. مثل ما اليوم نحن بنتعامل مع أمراض القلب والأوعية الدموية بشكل إنه بنحاول نعمل وقاية منها أو بناخذ حبوب لحتى نخفف منها، مثل ما مثل السرطان نحاول نفهم البيولوجيا تبعه لحتى نكون قادرين لحتى نعمل علاجات مستهدفه وشخصيه. بنتامل احنا انه بيوم قريب كثير انه نحقق النصر على مرض الالزهايمر والخرف، والطريقه الاساسيه اللي ممكن نعمل فيها شيء انه نشارك بالابحاث، لانه الابحاث هي الطريقه الوحيده اللي ممكن نعمل فيها نامن فيها المعلومات.
Well, hopefully, inshallah, in 6 months or next time I connect with you guys in a year, whenever the research is completed, you come back and tell us the successful results.
We would love to do that. We would love to do that.
I'm sure it will. Yeah, our community is wonderful. I think that it's a matter of understanding what this is. It's really, it took me a while to understand it, and I believe in these things. So it's a matter of understanding the value of their participation, and hopefully that it all comes together. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you everyone for watching, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.